You thought WrestleMania ended the bloodline. You thought Seth Rollins was finally done getting dragged into the Samoan family mess. Think again. On the 1st of April 2024, Raw didn't give us a soft reset, it served us a brutal, remorseless reminder that in WWE, family isn't just blood. It's power, it's rule, it's control, and Seth Rollins walked into a warzone where the lines between honor and domination were erased. If you don't agree with what happened tonight, I want you to say why in the comments, and if you think Rollins could have survived this, tell me how. Don't just watch, argue, share, make them hear you. Quick viewer question: who do you think was the bigger threat in that match, Solo Siko's fury or the Bloodline's interference? Answer below. Section 1. Setting the stage. The Raw atmosphere. Raw on April the 1st felt different from the opening bell. The arena pulsed with tension, like a collective heartbeat that knew something ugly was coming. WWE producers fed the crowd a steady drip of Bloodline imagery, solemn faces, cryptic videos, and those chilling interview clips where Roman Reigns' absence was almost louder than his presence. The stage was set for a collision not just of wrestlers, but of identities. Seth Rollins entered with fire in his eyes. You could tell this was personal. He's been a survivor 4 years, a man who reinvents himself to survive the next beatdown. But Rollins doesn't just fight for wins. He fights to prove a point. Tonight the point was to expose the Bloodline's rot, to blunt their influence, to remind the locker room and the world that WWE isn't run by fear. Then there's Solo Siko. Not just a physical specimen, but the embodiment of raw Samoan intensity. Every step he took screamed inevitability like a storm you can't outrun. Solo is the kind of wrestler who doesn't ask permission, he enforces rule. When the Bloodline put him in this match, they weren't looking just for a win, they were sending a message. Was it to Seth, to the fans, to the locker room? Yes, to all. Trivial viewer prompt: which entrance gave you more chills, Rollins' focused intensity or Solo's menacing presence? Type A for Rollins, B for Solo. Section 2. The first half, the chess match. The bell rang and the match started like a chess game with punches. Both men circled, probing with strikes and holds, trying to map the other's limits. Rollins opened with his usual calculated aggression, quick strikes, sharp forearms, and those inventive counters that keep opponents guessing. Solo answered with power-based offense, heavy slams, spine-rattling chops, and that looming presence that made the arena feel smaller. At first, Rollins tried to use speed and brains. He slid under blows, targeted limbs, and worked to keep Solo off balance. The logic here was classic Rollins: neutralize the big man, cut the power at the source, and pick your moment for the high-impact finisher. It worked early. Solo stumbled, braced, and for a brief moment, the match looked like a textbook Rollins victory in the making. But there's a difference between textbook wrestling and survival on Raw when the Bloodline's involved. The broadcast kept cutting to the backstage areas, to members of the faction watching with predatory calm. Those looks said more than words ever could. They were weighing options, timing interference, predicting the exact second the scales would tilt. And let's not forget the near falls. The crowd erupted. Rollins hit an arm drag that would have floored a lesser opponent. He followed up with a Falcon Arrow, a beautiful, brutal maneuver, and the referee's hand slapped the mat. 1, 2, almost 3, but Solo's left arm shot out, grasping the rope like a lifeline. That rope saved him. It also guaranteed the match would escalate. Comment prompt: what was the most underrated move of the opening 10 minutes? Name one below. Section 3. The turn. Bloodline rules kick in. This is where the match stopped being a fight between two men and started being a theater for dominance. Midway through the bout, as Rollins built momentum and the crowd began to chant his name, the Bloodline's presence became impossible to ignore. Remember the rules they established on Raw? Bloodline rules meant that their family's logic governs the ring. No one condones this outside the group, but within their bubble it's law. Solo didn't just fight as an individual at this point, he fought as an extension of an entire dynasty. The referee, the producers, even the camera angles shifted to make Rollins look smaller, like he was being corralled into an inevitability. Then the interference. It wasn't flashy, it was cold. A subtle shove at ringside, a whispered instruction, a distraction perfectly orchestrated to split Rollins' attention. Rollins, ever the opportunist, tried to stay focused. He ducked a chair swing, slammed Solo with a buckle bomb, and managed to get Solo in the corner. The crowd rallied. We all smelled vulnerability. This was the moment, the tipping point. And then Jey Uso's silhouette appeared on the ramp. The temperature in the arena dropped. Viewer challenge: if you could rewrite the Bloodline rules for fairness, what would you change? One sentence is fine. Section 4. The climax. Chaos, blood, and brawl. From here, the match spiraled into full-throttle chaos. Solo fought like a man possessed, but the Bloodline's interference amplified every moment. Rollins hit a pedigree no. Solo answered with an unexpected Samoan spike. Rollins climbed to the top rope. The crowd roared, but before he could fly, the lights dimmed and the camera cut to Roman's ominous vignette. The message was clear: the bloodline doesn't allow that high-risk heroism. Seth's desperation became his creativity. He used the environment, he used the crowd, he used the emotion. He even managed to get a near fall with a buckle-assisted stomp that should have been the end. 2 counts, 3 almost. The arena shook, but the bloodline had preempted every path to victory. Distract irons, ringside chaos, an unexpected superkick from a masked ally at the ramp who was there only to buy seconds. Rollins kept fighting, but every time he built momentum, they chopped it down. The brutality escalated. Solo's strikes began to look less like offense and more like surgical dismantling. Rollins' ribs took a beating. Sweat and blood mixed under the lights. The product the WWE World Eats for Breakfast storyline, athletic spectacle, human drama collided and produced a moment where you could feel the pain in your living room. Quick poll: which moment made you gasp the loudest? Describe it in one line. Section 5: the finish, a controversial end. And then one of the most infuriating finishes in recent memory. The match reached its crescendo when Solo locked in a sequence that should have led to a clean victory. Rollins showed heart. He clawed back. He looked like a man who wouldn't go quietly. But the bloodline rules? They don't abide by clean finishes when their narrative is at stake. A sudden distraction at ringside orchestrated by someone with keys to the creative firewall allowed interference to go unchecked. A leg was held, a foot on the ropes unseen by the referee. Or maybe the ref saw and looked away. Either way, Rollins' shoulders were pinned under circumstances that screamed injustice. 1, 2, 3. The bell rang. The arena erupted in boos that shook the rafters. Seth Rollins lay stunned. Solo celebrated, but the celebration felt hollow. It wasn't a triumph so much as a decree. The bloodline still controls outcomes. They've built a system where victories are less about skill or heart and more about who can manipulate the moment best. This finish will haunt the locker room. It will infest backstage conversations for weeks. Wrestlers will be angrier. Fans will be divided. And the story, it's far from over. Engagement ask: were you satisfied with the ending? Type yes for satisfied, no for robbed. Section 6: why this match mattered. The bigger picture. Let's be blunt, this match was never just about a pinfall. It was about authority. It was about the bloodline reaffirming its control while the rest of WWE wrestlers watched their paths narrowing. It was also about Seth Rollins, who has been elevated by adversity time and time again, being written into a role that forces him to answer the question: do you play by their rules or do you change the rules? For Rollins, the loss changes his trajectory. He's not just another guy who lost, he's the man who lost under suspicious circumstances. That's a narrative goldmine. Pain turns into purpose. Betrayal turns into obsession. The WWE writers can and likely will run with this. Imagine Rollins going darker, more consumed, seeking vengeance not only on Solo but on every member of the bloodline who helped orchestrate this. That fire fans saw tonight could fuel weeks of main event television. For Solo, the win, even tainted, consolidates his role. Wins make men in this industry. Even if the win's questionable, the narrative makes Solo look unstoppable within his faction. He's the muscle, yes, but now he's a reminder that the bloodline's rule has teeth. And for the bloodline itself, this was about optics. Everyone watching now knows that their influence extends beyond the ring. They dictate matches, manipulate outcomes, and keep challengers hesitant. That's the worst kind of power because it corrodes the idea of fairness in competition. Discussion prompt: do you want to see Rollins pursue a solo vendetta against Solo, or aim higher at the entire bloodline? Which route is more satisfying, and why? Section 7: moments you cannot unsee, details that stick. There were moments in the match that will be replayed in highlight reels for months. The look Rollins gave when he realized the ropes were being used against him, not as savior, but as a prop. Solo's cold, detached celebration, a man who took a win as if reciting a family duty. The referee's micro-expression when a masked figure slipped in and out at ringside, that flicker of doubt changed everything. The crowd's collective fury after the bell, a raw, human response to injustice that amplified the storyline outside the structure of the match. Those moments matter because they turn a wrestling match into something resembling myth. You don't just remember the finishing move, you remember the injustice, the glare, the silence that comes after a stadium full of fans realizes they've been cheated. Quick trivia for comments: what replay moment do you want to see framed and hung in the WWE Hall of Moments? Pick one. Section 8: predictions, where this goes next. Now for what matters most to fans who live for drama, the fallout. Expect a few things almost certainly. Seth Rollins goes on a revenge arc. He becomes obsessed. He targets anyone associated with the loss, not just Solo, but the enablers. The Bloodline doubles down. They won't let this be a one-off. They will exploit the victory to tighten their grip on Raw. A rematch is inevitable, but will it be fair? Probably not. Rollins will demand stipulations: no interference, steel cage, referee with no ties, and the Bloodline will counter with mind games, legal loopholes, or a partner who never leaves his corner. Expect Roman Reigns, whether present or via video, to weigh in. His stamp of approval for actions taken by his family will complicate everything, and that's the kind of punctuation WWE loves to use to escalate feuds. Engage. Pick one stipulation you'd demand if you were Seth Rollins. Cage no DQ special guest ref. Comment below. Section 9. What this means for Raw and WrestleFan culture. This match did more than decide a winner. It stoked fires in fan communities. Social feeds exploded with hot takes, conspiracy theories, and passionate calls for justice. That's the meta-narrative at play. When a storyline pisses off the fans, it's often doing its job. The anger means people care. The debate means the product is relevant. Rollins versus Solo under Bloodline rules isn't just entertainment, it's a provocation. And in an era where wrestling promotions survive on clicks, streams, and social outrage, matches like this are crafted to incite. WWE knows controversy creates conversation. But there's a cost: trust with the audience. If fans begin to believe outcomes are too manipulated by fact irons, the line between kayfabe and backstage politics blurs, and that confusion can either deepen fan investment or burn interest away. Which will happen? That's on WWE storytelling moving forward. Comment prompt: do you think WWE is using the Bloodline too much as a storyline crutch? Yes or no, and why? Section 10. Closing analysis. Rollins options from here. Seth Rollins has options, and choices speak louder than words in wrestling. He can become a lone wolf, attack the system, go on a crusade to expose the Bloodline, and win by outsmarting their interference. Build allies, rally other top stars fed up with the Bloodline's rule, and form a coalition, turning the storyline into a faction versus faction war. Turn darker, let the loss consume him, adopt more ruthless tactics, and become more dangerous than the faction that wronged him. Which path is the most satisfying for me? The coalition route offers the best TV. Imagine Rollins assembling a team, forcing the Bloodline to defend their turf in a long-form war. But a darker Rollins who toes the line of villainy could also be fascinating, especially if it complicates fan allegiances. Final poll: if you were booking the rematch, would you choose a one-on-one with strict stipulations, a multi-man brawl, or a tag match to settle scores? Vote now in the comments. Final challenge: call to action, make them engage. I want you to think back on every phoniness you've ever hated in wrestling: finishes that felt cheap, storylines that betrayed characters for shock value. Now think about tonight's finish. Is it an artistic choice or a creative cop-out? Write your argument in the comments. I'll pin the best take and read it in the next video. And one more thing, share this with a fan who thinks the Bloodline is finished. Make them watch the match again. Make them feel the anger. Make them explain why this finish was necessary. Debate breeds passion, and passion keeps our corner of the internet alive. Last viewer prompt: tag a friend who thinks Rollins won that match clean. Convince them otherwise in 2 sentences. Outro: no sign off, just a final promise. We're not done with this story. Tonight's match was a statement, an insult, and an invitation. An invitation for Seth Rollins to rise not just as a wrestler, but as a symbol of resistance against a family that bends rules to its will. What he does next will decide more than title pictures. It will decide the tone of Raw for months to come. Leave your take, argue, share, and remember, wrestling isn't just about who pins whom, it's about the moments that make us stand up and scream. This match did that. Whether you loved it or hated it, you felt something. Make that feeling loud. Engagement recap. Comment prompts to copy-paste. Who was the bigger threat, Solo or the Bloodline's interference? Why? Which entrance gave you more chills, Rollins or Solo? A/B. What was the most underrated move in the opening 10 minutes? If you could rewrite the Bloodline rules, what would you change? Which moment made you gasp the loudest? Were you satisfied with the ending? Yes/no. Do you want Rollins to pursue Solo or the entire Bloodline? Which replay moment should be framed in WWE history? What stipulation would you demand for the rematch? Is WWE using the Bloodline too much? Yes/no. If you were booking the rematch, which format would you choose? Tag a friend who thinks Rollins won clean and convince them otherwise in 2 sentences. Now go argue in the comments, share the video, and let WWE know we're watching. And if you want a follow-up breakdown blow by blow, move by move, say the word below and I'll tear this match apart frame by frame.